Hello everyone, I'm Cindy Lee. I'm your instructor of cultural intelligence and intercultural communication. Today we are going to see the overview of cultural intelligence. In the previous lectures, we talked about intercultural communication. Now, from this lecture, we will begin to study cultural intelligence. If you are ready, let's start today's class. In today's lesson, we will cover many points. They include about competence and intelligence, multiple intelligence for your reference, cultural intelligence, CQ versus EQ, cultural intelligence elaborated, CQ drive, CQ knowledge, CQ strategy, CQ action, cultural intelligence versus cultural competence. And we will ask you a question, is cultural intelligence nature or nurture? Then finally, we will talk about a leader's personal development plan. If you are ready, let's move on to the first point about competence and intelligence. In the previous lectures, we have already discussed the flat road. Intercultural communication competence is crucial for a modern global villager. Intercultural communication competence is used a lot in the field of applied linguistics and education. With a similar concept, cultural intelligence is developed with many more concrete steps and directions for people and students to work and live in the multicultural world. We have already realized that in a globalized world, people increasingly interrelate, communicate, and work in a culturally diverse workplace, both within and outside the organization. People need cultural intelligence to facilitate effective cross-cultural adjustments and communication in their everyday life and in the workplace. So if we say intercultural communication competence is more like one's 素养 in Chinese, cultural intelligence can be interpreted as 职能. Even though the word intelligence is often translated into 智商 or 智能, but here we can interpret it as 职能. So here I would like to emphasize that the term intelligence we use in this course refers to a person's capacity to solve problems and adapt to diverse circumstances. This adaptation ability attaches new meaning to intelligence. It is not a reflection of a person's mathematical skill or reading skill. Again, here, we say cultural intelligence indicates the ability to adapt to culturally diverse circumstances. Okay, since we talk about intelligence, you must have heard about multiple intelligence. Here's let's have a quick look at the so-called multiple intelligence, 多元智能, which may help you to understand the concept of intelligence. We all know that we are not all naturally skilled at the same things. Some people are good at athletics and good at sports or dancing because they have a better body coordination. Others pick up language and words faster at a young age, while others are good at numbers or visualizing patterns. A famous psychologist and professor at Harvard University, Howard Gardner, in his 1983 book, Frames of Mind, pointed out that there are at least 8 types of human intelligence. Each form of intelligence represents different ways a person best processes information. Later, Professor Gardner added 2 or 3 more forms of intelligence, but here today, let's see the most well-known 8 forms of intelligence. Know that how high a person's score in one category, in one particular intelligence, does not necessarily influence how high or low his or her score in another. Each form of intelligence is born in nature and may be learned or trained better in nurture. But suppose people want to learn to be exceptional at something, like becoming a master in a particular field. In that case, their best shot is to understand the unique areas of intelligence where they can have an advantage and then build upon those strengths. So now let's look at each type of intelligence one by one. So now let's look at this picture from the first row, from the left to the right. You can see the first one, the pink box here, special intelligence. The strengths are good at visual and spatial judgment. The characteristics include people can draw for fun, they are good at puzzles, they can recognize patterns and interpret visuals well. The second one, bodily kinesthetic intelligence. The strengths are good at physical movement and motor control. The characteristics are people are skilled at sports, they have excellent physical coordination, they can remember by doing instead of hearing or seeing. The green box here you see musical intelligence. The strengths are good at rhythm and music. The characteristics are that people have appreciation for music, they can think in sound and patterns, and they have a rich understanding of musical structure notes. Next one, linguistic intelligence. The strengths are people good at words, language, and writing. The characteristics are people can enjoy writing, reading, they are good at public speaking, they can be very persuasive and can explain things well. Now let's look at the second row, logical mathematical skills. The strengths are good at analyzing problems and mathematical operations. The characteristics are people are fast problem solvers, they can understand complex computations, and they like thinking about abstract ideas. Next is interpersonal intelligence. The strengths are understanding and relating to others. Characteristics are they have strong emotional intelligence skills, they can create healthy relationships, and are good at solving conflicts. The next one is intrapersonal intelligence. The strengths are introspection and self-reflection. Here it means that the people can understand themselves very well and they can make right decisions for themselves. So the characteristics are one can understand one's own strengths, weakness. They have a high self-awareness. They are sensitive to their own feelings. The last one is naturalistic intelligence. The strengths are people are good at seeing patterns and relationships to nature. The characteristics are people are interested in areas like botany, biology, and rheology. They have appreciation for nature. They enjoy activities like camping, gardening, and hiking. So perhaps many of you have heard about multiple intelligence. You had IQ tests in elementary and junior high schools when you were younger. However, this course we are not going to discuss those forms of intelligence born in nature. We will talk about cultural intelligence. Cultural intelligence is a concept studied by a group of scholars specializing in management and business strategy. They define cultural intelligence as the ability to capture a person's adjustment to new cultures. They describe it as a person's capability for successfully adapting new cultural settings, that is, to unfamiliar environments that are attributable to cultural context. In other words, like multiple intelligence, cultural intelligence describes one's ability in a specific aspect. It is about one's command of adjusting to new cultures and apply such ability in daily life and workplace. The neurologist does not develop a CQ, but management scholars do. And what is essential is that cultural intelligence is not identified as being born with, but it can be learned, trained, and nourished. According to Christopher Early, Sun An, and Jun San Tom's theory, cultural intelligence consists of three essential parts. They include what you think and how you solve problems, cultural strategic thinking, we call it, and whether or not you are energized and persistent in your actions, we call it motivation, and where you can act in specific ways, we call it behavior. In their notion, the cultural strategic thinking of cultural intelligence has two components: cultural knowledge and cultural thinking and learning. Cultural knowledge captures the facts we hold about another culture and our understanding of how things operate. Related to this is how we gain this knowledge in the first place, which we refer to as cultural thinking and learning. This kind of cultural thinking and learning, called metacognition by the psychologist, has also been referred to as thinking about thinking or learning to learn. So these two elements work together, and we have cultural strategic thinking. And cultural strategic thinking guides our strategies to acquire knowledge about country-specific information. Okay, however, some may wonder how this idea, cultural intelligence, differs from the related ideas in the management and press, such as emotional intelligence or social intelligence. So here we are going to talk about emotional intelligence a little bit. Emotional intelligence presumes that a person is familiar with his own culture and often unconsciously uses a typical situation to act and react with others. On the contrary, cultural intelligence picks where emotional intelligence leaves off, dealing with people and situations in unfamiliar surroundings. In brief, EQ best describes people's ability to get along with their fellows in a familiar culture. For example, a Taiwanese manager would like to become a good team leader. He wants to successfully lead and work with other Taiwanese team members, and then high EQ for him is a must. But when getting along with people of different backgrounds, high EQ doesn't guarantee the same success. In Taiwan, I guess you have seen social news that some elders or employers tortured foreign workers. However, those people could be kind to their families and Taiwanese employees. For another example, I have seen many students act normally with their Taiwanese students, with other Taiwanese students, but when they faced overseas students, they became very shy or even reluctant to interact. Some students even choose people of particular nationalities to work with, showing their prejudice or bias so apparently. Do those people have a good EQ? Yes, they have, because they can get along with their Taiwanese fellows very well. But what they don't have is a CQ. Okay, if Early and Tong's theory of cultural intelligence sounds complicated to you, here we have another author of management, David Livermore, who elaborated their theory and came up with an easy understanding version for modern managers and students to develop their cultural intelligence. There is also a cultural intelligence center that issue cultural intelligence assessments. Many global enterprises now adopt the CQ assessment to measure and filter their international talents. And you may be likely to take it in the future. So it will be helpful for you if you learn about it now. David Livermore defines the CQ with the 4 elements: CQ drive, CQ knowledge, CQ strategy, and CQ action. So now let's look at the brief definition of each element more closely. First, CQ drive. CQ drive indicates your level of interest, persistence, and confidence during multicultural interactions. Next, CQ knowledge. CQ knowledge means your understanding about how cultures are similar and different. Next, CQ strategy. CQ strategy indicates your awareness and ability to plan for multicultural interactions. Finally, CQ action. CQ action means your ability to adapt when relating and working in multicultural contexts. Next, let's take a closer look at CQ. First, CQ drive indicates motivation. We say everything starts from the heart. Your interest and motivation to do something are crucial to do that thing successfully. Suppose you don't like something, let me ask you, how long can you do it? You may drop it or give it up quickly because the process is painful because you don't like it. However, you become focused and concentrated when you do something you like. Studies show that grit is the key to success in almost every field, but keeping the momentum is very hard. So if you are motivated, it's easier to have grit. There are 2 kinds of motivation: intrinsic or internal motivation and interest. The word internal means from the bottom of your heart. You generally enjoy doing something. In the case of the CQ here, it indicates you want a culturally diverse environment. You like to meet people who are different from you. You're genuinely curious about other cultures and you want to hear different point of views. You are also interested in your own culture and feel pleasant when sharing your culture with others. The other kind of motivation is extrinsic, or we call it external interest or external motivation, which means that you are motivated by tangible benefits. For example, you know that if you can travel and work internationally, you will have more and better career opportunities. You know you can negotiate for a higher salary because of your internationality and intercultural competence. All of these are tangible benefits. When people acknowledge these benefits, they become willing to spend time studying intercultural knowledge, and they are willing to prepare for their intercultural encounters. They know that those benefits will ensure their career success and a happier life. This is extrinsic motivation. The last element of the CQ drive is confidence and self-efficacy. When people know what they are good at, they feel confident. If people know they can do something well, they have stronger motivation to do it because they know they will succeed. They are not afraid of failure, they are confident. In the next session, we will guide you to strengthen your CQ drive. Everyone can increase their CQ drive through training. Those with a high CQ drive can become good international sales and diplomats. We will talk more about this in the next session. Next, let's look at CQ knowledge. CQ knowledge can be divided into two types. The first type is cultural general understanding. They include the following topics but not limited. For example, norms, values, communication styles, religious beliefs, gender differences, economic, business, legal, political, and family systems. Now this course will focus on this type of CQ knowledge. There are no good or bad cultures. You need to remember this. There are only different cultures. All the cultural values and norms are relative. In the future, we will study cultural systems and cultural dimensions. But here, let me give you an example first. When studying the religious system, you will learn about the difference between various religions, such as Catholicism, Christianity, and Buddhism. Each religion gives its followers a lot of norms and directions for life and behavior, and influences the believer's way of looking at the world. Then you'll realize why people think and act so differently. For another example, later you will study the cultural dimension. You will learn about collective and individualistic societies. Their values can be opposites. When you know the difference between people and communicate on that difference, you will stand a better chance of reaching mutual understanding. And that's why we need to study cultural knowledge. The second type of CQ knowledge is called context-specific understanding. This means specialized, domain-specific cultural knowledge. To survive in specific domain successfully, you must understand how culture influences your effectiveness. For example, there are various industrial cultures, the business culture and academic culture in the universities. They can be very different. People's values and what they care about are different in two different industries. If someone uses a general sales talk, for example, to communicate with the professors, a typically successful sales pitch may become less effective or not effective at all in the academic context. For another example, there are various corporate cultures. An IT company may be aggressive and want to see investment return quickly. But a non-profit organization that runs charity activities may seek a long-term outcome. If someone doesn't understand such a fundamental difference and tries to impose one party's value on the other, you can imagine the communication breakdown. Before you visit a specific country, work in a particular industry, or want to work with a particular company, you should gain such context-specific understanding and prepare for it. Finally, knowledge alone does not assure leadership. You need to remember this. You will need to apply your knowledge to form a strategy to achieve your goal and win people's heart to communicate successfully. So that's why we need to study CQ strategy. CQ strategy means making sense of culturally diverse experiences and planning accordingly. When you know there is an intercultural situation, for example, working with the people of different cultural backgrounds and they have different values from you, you should prepare for it. The first step is planning. Apply your secure knowledge to anticipate how to approach the people, topic, and situation. During the encounter, the second step is to remain cautious and be aware of what's happening to ourselves and others. Pay attention to the details of the meeting and the reactions from the counterparts. The third step is checking. During and after the encounter, compare the actual experience with what is expected to happen. Check which part of your preparation works and what not. If there is a gap between your preparation and the reality, revise that part for the next encounter.